I'm showing leg tonight. I'm finally ready. 110 pounds down. I'm ready to show some leg.
Wow. Now I don't think I can concentrate.
EJ, please stop blushing.
Oh.
I really have two questions for you. One, how do you balance work, family, and content creation so well? Getting older and with an 18-month-old at home, I marvel at how you're able to constantly crank out such quality videos. My wife is cool, but gosh, guys, it seems like a lot. Should we pause there and try to answer? Do you want to try to answer that one?
Well, yeah, I mean, one, I've got a problem. So, no, well, the thing is, it's how I approach a lot of things, especially with a young child. I've had to adapt, and let me give you an example of even just not even red cow material. Well, actually, it might be red cow material eventually. So I have to plan. I want to plant some tomatoes out in my garden.
Excellent.
And I have no time to prepare. So you just have to find pockets. So I'm always thinking about it and thinking steps ahead. So like recently I ordered some like lumber from Home Depot and for pickup order, and I was like, I only have a half an hour to pick that up, so I got to pick that up, and then because I'm going to make a vegetable garden like box with those, what do they call it? raised bed for my tomatoes, and so I'm planning like steps ahead, and I'm using pockets of time that I have to do those steps, and I'm doing them very well in advance because I don't have to plant these until June, but I've already got the lumber, I've got the seeds ready. I'm going to plant those mid-March, and then they'll sprout. So like you just have to utilize your time when you're planning all the time, and you can only execute them in just like 15 minutes and a half an hour. And that's how I do it, and that's how I do videos too. Like, okay, I know I can start writing a script when Noah's asleep. And so Noah's asleep. I'm writing the script as fast as I can. So, if you want to do it, you do it and you find the time to do it. And that's how I get through all this, because I have to do my creative content. There's like there's no choice for me. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'll add to that theme of like being kind of hyper aware of like how you can take like advantage of the time that you have. It's very rare that I fuck up an opportunity to be productive. So, for instance, like when I put Gloria down to sleep, it's sometimes a half hour, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's an hour and a half, like laying there with her being a douchebag and me trying to convince her to go to sleep. And so that's, in terms of time management, that's like, oh, like maybe I'll have 2 hours tonight, but then it's like, oh no, actually you have a half hour tonight, whatever. But I still use the half hour is the point. I think truly the hidden secret is proficiency in editing. Like truly, like if you're a slow editor, I mean, I don't know. You ever like look over somebody's shoulder and watch them use a computer? Like people are really fucking slow and really inefficient. And I imagine, editing being an art, being something that takes maybe thousands of hours to get really good with. And again, not just like competently assemble a video, but also make all kinds of decisions about the video while you're laying it down. It's like we're quick at it, we're fast at it, we're good at it. And if we weren't, then some of the goals just wouldn't be realistic at all. It's partly why like I flirted with the idea of hiring some slobs, or like some people have come to me and have said like, do you want to I can edit a little bit, let me know if I can help. And I've thought about it and I'm like, man, there's no way it would make it faster. There's no fucking way it would make it faster. I would have some new personality to contend with.
You gotta no. And like the shooting dates, like we're planning to shoot next weekend, hopefully. And like how you just have to, it's like it is like steering the Titanic sometimes. You gotta like plan, and you gotta like steer it, and hopefully you have enough time to turn that ship. But you know, I talk to my wife. I say, "Oh, I have to do this." Like I say, I'm planning on filming my own stuff tonight, and
You
it's
plan it
really
in
just
advance.
communication and making sure there's enough time to do it, and being flexible. Like yeah, like you said, like yesterday, um, like Gabriel wasn't going to sleep, so I couldn't really edit my video last night, but you just then you whatever. You just
Yeah,
pick it up.
you always intelligently build in buffer to allow things like that to happen. But other times, like if there's a project where maybe a good example would be like when I did the Freddie Williams podcast, where okay, like this is going to be an hour, and I'm going to be laying in all of these, all this additional graphics, and it's like almost kind of like a mini documentary, but I'm releasing it as if it's just normal weekly content. You've made a decision, when you slate that to be like, okay, that I'm gonna work extra hard on that video for some reason. So that one's gonna take 3 times or 4 times as long as the normal video would take. And either you plan the content around that, or you plan like the way you're going to spend your time that week. Like that
Mhm.
week, if there was free time, there's less free time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like a lot of our free time is used like, I don't know. I just don't, I mean, now I spend almost every free minute getting in additional exercises. I try to drive towards my final, my 29 pounds I've got left to go. But before that, it was editing. It was just, I'm just project based. I'm always like, I'm very
Yeah.
motivated by finishing shit.
Yeah. And I'm always thinking about ingredients I have to buy for upcoming videos. It's like the tomatoes. Like I'm always thinking of, oh, I have to buy this now, and then I can film it a couple days later, and then I can do some editing later, I can do some voiceover
Mm-hmm.
the next day. You just have to be thinking about it. And so if I were to have any advice for somebody who wants to start doing videos, I would just say just think of one video that you want to do, and work think about 15 minutes or half an hour every day of every step that you could do to get that to that goal of that one video.
And
Like
maybe self-impose a deadline. I mean, like the weekly content thing that we did for years, which at this point I've continued to do with the exception of one Sunday. Um, it's an arbitrary thing in a lot of ways, but it ends up structuring your entire content pipeline, and in a positive way, in the way that like how they always say that like student athletes are better students or whatever, because
mhm,
they have to fit more in, and so they're more like time management conscious. It's kind of like that. So I think if you were going to be like, I want to get on some kind of little release schedule, it's like, well then, what is it, once a month, whatever.
yeah.
And I always say too, in terms of content creation, if you can start with like a podcast or something that's audio, if you've never really edited before, I would suggest like, yeah, record you and somebody talking and then edit it way down to its essentials. That's a really good exercise where you're not worried about production value, physical, or the visual presentation. You're just worried about um, efficiently telling whatever story it is you told.
Yeah, and make sure you like what you're doing. Like
Yeah.
don't do something that you have no motivation to do.
Yeah. No, totally. Totally.
Just find some topic that you cannot shut up about, and I bet it'll be interesting, you know.
Yeah.
At least to you or somebody you know.
Yeah. You should never do something that you yourself don't feel like is worthwhile.
Yeah.
um,
I'm, like some people do. Some people want to chase something else, and
yeah. No, totally.
just do something that you'd be interested, or you you know and just do it.
It took me a little bit when I was younger, when making films, because I do think it's not unreasonable to be motivated by like, oh, I'd like to have made a film.
Yeah.
I'd like to have something like, I'd like to shortcut to the accomplishment because the accomplishment looks fun. Or I'd like to be able to look back and go, oh, cool, a whole movie. But at some point, you have to realize that the making of the movie is the thing. That's the thing that
Hmm.
you have to like. Not, so much so that the milestone of finishing it is almost a little underwhelming or a little bit anticlimactic, where it's like really the meat of the thing was the deeds. you know?